Hey there, my name's Chris, and if a tree falls in a forest and there's a microphone attached to your camera, does it make a sound? You bet it does. This week I didn't get a crazy amount done, but I did a lot more trimming with the goal of opening up as many trails as I can because I like to have a lot of projects. And access is about everything. So when I feel like taking down a tree at the house site, I can get to the house site. When I feel like doing something here at the first build site, I can do that too. But I'm also making more than one path just so that way I can have a little bit of variety. And I mean, it's so much work to get these trails cut through that you want to do them a little bit at a time. They get bigger and bigger and bigger, and as time goes on, I'm going to be able to maintain them a lot more easily because the big stuff is taken out. So for example, I cut this trail through here, and all that does is just connect the little trail that's down below one that I cut last week. And this one goes along the ridge to the build site. Back this way. So we're now walking across the actual build site for the sleep camp and the workshop. I have another trail that goes back this way, and it comes up to the top of a ridge where I want to build a gazebo or something later on. So I also made a trail coming like behind you right now is where the two buildings are going to go. Then there's another trail that keeps following the ridge and goes up this way. And all along I've been trying to sort of cut back to where the truck goes. So the idea is that once I smooth all of that out, I can bring the truck fairly close to wherever I'm working. So now, or maybe 60 feet from where the sleep camp and workshop is going to go, and we have this little rock ledge that's been clear since I've owned the property because there's just that little soil on it. And off this side, it drops down almost 15 feet. Then it comes up almost 15 feet, and there's a really high rock prominence that's just over there where I ultimately want to build my permanent workshop. Now, one of the things that I still haven't 100% decided on is how am I going to build these structures? So I have two choices to start. I can put beams across the sonotubes, so I have a log that is bridging the sonotubes, and then build a traditional structure on top of that, whether it's a log cabin or a stick frame. The alternative is I put posts up from those sonotubes that go all the way up to the roof and then bridge across, notching in and doing something more of a direct timber frame. And I'm having trouble deciding. The timber frame should be faster to build in theory, but it's more technically complicated. Then doing a log structure is certainly a lot less complicated in a lot of ways, but it's a lot more work. In the end, the goal is just to get the structures built, not necessarily to be perfect, but the other thought of that is, at least for the first little while when you come up the driveway, those buildings are going to be the first thing that you see. And I don't want them to be something that every time I look at them, I don't like it. I want it to be something that I can be proud of, I enjoy the look of, and motivates me to keep going forward. But either way, I have a lot of trees to work with. I've got a plan, and right now I'm too hot and too tired for a plan. And tomorrow's an edit day, so That'll have to be next video. So I'm not sure that this tree is going to be a tree worth taking down, at least in the short term. There's a bunch of pretty deep holes around the root system. I'm guessing a gust of wind had come along at some point and lifted this whole thing up, almost tipping it over. And yeah, it's all spongy and hard walking, and if I had to run in this direction in the case of emergency, it's a good chance I'd trip, or worse, the whole thing is going to lift up as the tree goes over and take me for a ride. This tree, at least right now, might be a little bit beyond my pay grade. Yeah, ow, just like that. My foot just went down in that hole between the two branches. Good way to break an ankle. I'll give it some thought. So I kind of mentioned it last time, but one of the problems I have with this property right now is that it's so freaking big, which is good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But at the same time, it makes everything more difficult because everything is sort of far apart. There's a lot of clearing in between. It's not like I'm going to be contained in a small half-acre parcel in the middle of a 10-acre parcel, so that way I'm away from neighbors. I can go anywhere here and I'm away from neighbors. That eventually I'm going to be clearing a lot of the land that comes down this way. It's all rock, it's all ridgy. It's full of the spruce that are kind of dying anyways. And it's really, really thickly grown in. And this is the area where between the house on that side, the sleep camp, and the gazebo, it's all sort of gonna all have the same clearing. We're all gonna be able to look down and see far away from here. And minimizing the number of trees that I'm taking down, while at the same time getting the views that I want. I've spent so long thinking about this and dreaming about this and exactly what I want to do. And if I let myself fall into perfectionism, I'm just going to fail because I'll be sitting here in analysis paralysis forever. As it is, me telling you this is taking too long. What would you do if you had this much land? Would you keep it all contained and packed all together? Or would you just spread out like I'm kind of talking about? All right, got a wasp situation from the last video. Now I have to see if I can fix it without suffering consequences. I'm not gonna hang around and find out if I get too pissed. Can't imagine why. But what I decided I want to do here, where the sleep camp is a little different than what I thought last week, where I would put the front edge of the buildings along this rock here, but this rock is only at best 14 feet across, where it's relatively flat, then it drops off on either side, which means that I'd have to have fairly high sonotubes or something to support the front of the building at this end, even though this back end is higher. And I want to avoid as much concrete as I can. At the high point of the ridge here, I want to put a fire pit somewhere where I can sit down, have a fire, cook some food, relax, and enjoy being out here. Because one of the things I've noticed since I started the channel is that I come out here and it's rush, 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 get it done. And as soon as I'm done, I'm rushing home. And while I need to get home for family, I also don't want to lose sight of the fact that I'm here because I love this place. And I want to spend time here where I'm enjoying it, not just making a job out of it by talking to you guys continuously. And then I'm going to put the two 12 by 20s further down here where it's still really lumpy, but I can have the front and the back more or less at the same height, pretty close to the ground. So I can scrape off the overburden, pin directly to the rock, and I'm good to go. I grabbed a couple of long tape measures, and I think the best thing to do is put the building further back, so that way the back of the building is close to the edge of the ridge, while the posts are all going to be, or the sonotubes are all going to be different heights, because this slopes down, that slopes down, but it's still relatively close to the same. So this one here, that's 24 feet, but I'd actually put a couple feet, so it'll be maybe a foot past the other side and a foot this way, and then that's 20 foot that way, which is pretty close to the length of the building. So yeah, I think that's that makes more sense. So let's see if I did a good job in getting rid of the wasps, or whether or not we have to take another go with the spray. Yoy. That's a good sign. Nothing came out. So when I was flying the drone around, I noticed something that I hadn't seen very much of early on when I first started flying a drone and exploring, and that there's a lot of dead spruce, or maybe not dead, but certainly dying. And I'm not sure whether it's spruce budworm or something else, but what ends up happening, as you can see with that tree there, is all the branches almost all the way up are all completely dead. Sometimes there's like 2 or 3 small branches at the top that are still kind of green, but the tree is not long for this world. On this hill going down to the valley below, there are easily 200 trees that are dying. And so while I do plan on thinning out this forest for the view, I don't necessarily want to thin it out right away, because a lot of the trees, like right now, I've come up to a couple pretty big poplar. Like my hand span is almost a foot across, so these are almost 24-inch logs. And while they're not perfect, they're pretty straight because they've been sheltered by the forest. So I'd like to use these really big logs in the house somehow. The last thing I want to do is drop them to the ground and then not be able to deal with them. But I'm pretty sure that most of them are going to come down on their own eventually. So for example, this tree right here, it looks lovely from the base, but when you look up, she's broken clean off way up there. We had a windstorm a couple years ago, and it snapped this tree right off. And it's only a matter of time before the rest of these break. So I have to find that balance between cutting them down and storing them, and leaving them to continue to live and grow until they need to come down. It's really hard to convey what the terrain is like on camera because it is big. If you go up that way, that brings you up to the little gully that comes down from the house, and then you go up this way, and that's where the buildings are going to go. The first buildings are going to build, and then you go up this way, and that's the ravine that goes to the top of that little bare hill that I talked about a little earlier. And right now, I'm at least 10 feet below all of that upper level. It drops down really fast. And then another maybe 20 or 30 feet down, and then it levels out into one of the valleys that goes into the creek. So part of my thinking for clearing these out is I want to make sure that I'm managing the fire risk, and realistically, the fire would come from that way. Most of the ignition sources, you go far enough that way, there's a highway, the storms are coming from that direction. So I would expect any real fire to come this way, and I want to make sure there's not a lot of dead trees, and I want to make sure that there's enough open space so that way if I do ever need to deal with fire, I've managed the forest on this side as best I can. Now, part of the decision-making process for how I'm going to build is also in how many trees I need to take down in order to get it done. To do some sort of a hybrid timber frame, and then I have to decide how to fill in between. I want to build some sort of a simple sawmill, cut some of the lumber down into 2x or maybe even 4x timbers, so that way I can get more mileage out of each tree and it's easier to build with. I don't have to fuss around with rounds and that sort of thing. If I had a full sawmill, I would probably build a little differently than what I'm going to do, but we'll see where we get to. In the short term though, it's trying to make the decisions that are going to get me where I need to be and the least amount of time and effort, because what I need most is to have a place where I can overnight here, because if I can get the ability to stay overnight, then easily I can get another 12 hours a week here while still living up to my other expectations. And that'll mean a lot for me and for the channel. Today is a glorious day. Most of this week was the same old, hot, miserable, and I did my best. Today is much different. Today is tree day. I'm ending this week on a high note. Started it on a rough note. As I've been complaining about for almost all of my videos, it was hot at the beginning of this week. And even with the cooling vest, I was only able to get so much done because you get the vest on, you start working, you still get hot, you don't overheat, but you can't push yourself really hard. And this morning I woke up and it was blissfully cool. Came out to the property and logs. Logs. They're awesome logs. Timber. So this tree is definitely leaning that way. And that way, so it's going to fall more or less where the other one did. This one, this one's leaning towards the camera and leaning that way. So this one's going to want to fall into the bush. But I'm willing to let it do that. There's not a lot of big trees. Hard to see, but there's mostly little small trees. So as long as I miss this poplar, it should just break the other trees out of the way. There she goes. Suspense is killing me. It's better than the tree killing me. Another gust or two. Come on. You can do it. Oh, 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 there she goes. Oh, come on. That's no fun. Oh, wait. Bugger. So that last tree came down. It's sitting in another tree, but it's another dead one. So basically it's doing me a solid by limbing it on its way down. Next week I'll just use the drill powered winch and pull it up by the base. It'll drop, we'll clean it up, get it up here. Just in the 50 feet around for where I'm standing, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20 more trees. So I can get almost all the trees that I need for this right here. I've been trying to maximize the logs. If I can't get 2 logs of a decent length, I'm cutting it as long as I can. That first one I cut to 21 feet. The second one, oh, it's a skinny maple. I don't know if I'm actually going to use it, but it's still 20 feet. The third one is 24 feet and 20 feet. And then that last one, I think I'll be able to do another 24 and 20. If I can, I'll get 3 logs out of it. But right now, the bigger logs, the larger diameter logs, I want to keep as long as possible rather than necessarily cutting them shorter. There's quite a few logs that are a little bit on the thinner side that I'll probably do on the 10-foot length for the short width of the buildings. With a temperature drop, it's awesome. My head is cool compared to what it was when it was 30 degrees. It's only 20 degrees right now and not humid. So in spite of the fact that I've been working for several hours, full tilt, trying to get as much done today as I could, because I have to get home early today for family reasons. So I only had a limited amount of time on property today. At the beginning of the week, if I had done this, even with the cooling vest, I would have been wiped out. So that's it for this video. For the first time since I started this channel, I'm confident that next week is going to be better than this week. Because now I can actually start on the real work. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Again, next week, not sure that there's going to be an episode because I have a couple other things that came up that were unexpected. But this week I managed to get out here and the temperature is supposed to stay fairly cool. So that means I should be able to come out here and get a whole lot done because I'm not fighting against the heat. I was finding that I would be sitting in the truck not wanting to come out because I knew it was going to be miserable. And today I got here and it was just go, go, go because it's great. I'm so excited for the fall. So we'll see you next week or the week after. But either way, appreciate your having watched. Have a good one. All right, are we trying this again? What the hell? Take 15. Yeah. All right, we're tracking. We're talking. We're recording.